the Arabian Racing Podcast with Debbie Bird.
Hi, and welcome to this special edition of the Arabian Racehorse Podcast. I'm joined from Australia by Victoria Shaw. Hi, Victoria.
Debbie, hello. Good to be with you. How are you?
It's great, and it's great to see you. People who may be not so familiar with the Sheikh Mansour Festival won't know that Victoria has been involved on and off for a number of years. You've done some race calling, and you've also been host at various events and conferences throughout the last few years of the festival. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Certainly, Debbie, it was a wonderful period in my life that I spent with the Sheikh Mansour Festival. Firstly, there are a number of races they staged here in Melbourne, where I was involved with around 2012, 2013 through 2014. And then 2015, I attended the conference in Warsaw. Ahead of that, we're also in Hollywood hosting with Derek Thompson the annual awards, and that carried me right through until about 2018 in Spain. And over that time, it was a wonderful period to watch the social progress that I think the Sheikh Mansour Festival drove internationally. And I think a lot of people perhaps look at the centre of the world, the Middle East, thinking the social progress there, where a lot of our Arabian race sponsors come from, was front of mind. But it drove a lot more than that. It drove a lot of social progress in countries even like Australia, and opened up a lot of our younger jockeys to the prospect of riding internationally, what they would have to do to sort of travel abroad, different race conditions. It got people thinking outside the square in many, many ways, and it took us all back to the original racehorse, the Arabians. So I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I reflect fondly and frequently when we went to Warsaw in Poland, and to see Bourgeois Mamul win our first international win for a jockey from Morocco. I thought that was glorious. And equally, Bourgeois, I came to learn, was received by the King of Morocco when she arrived back at home. Now, that was 6 months ahead of Michelle Payne winning the Melbourne Cup in 2015. That in itself was a landmark moment, not just in racing, but in sport right around the world for women. But for Bourgeois to be received by royalty when she arrived home after winning in Warsaw with the Sheikha Fatima or Ladies World Challenge, that was sensational, and she was a lovely young lady as well.
And you've also moderated panels at the various conferences that we've had over the course of the festival, and you've been out to the Dual Crown meeting as well, haven't you?
Yes, and to see group racing for purebred Arabians and at Group 1 level, and to see some of the world's greatest riders descend in the Middle East to the United Arab Emirates at the track, and watch the horses go around there and perform in Abu Dhabi. That was an extraordinary moment, and some great racing too. And I think coming from Australia, a lot of international people might look or listen to this podcast and think, well, okay, Victoria clearly is across the Melbourne Cup and big races that we have in Australia, like the Golden Slipper for 2-year-olds. But to see some of the world's greatest riders, vying for the opportunity to ride purebred Arabians, which in Australia we don't really know much about racing at an international level. That was really important to witness that and to see how great it can be and is.
And of course, we've had the two-way traffic in a different form in the form of Rachel King, who was a leading jockey on Arabians in the UK, who's gone on to Australia. She also was part of the Sheikh Mansour Festival series and went out to various events and rode in many of the Sheikha Fatima races. And of course, she's now a sensational jockey, a Group 1 winning jockey in Australia on thoroughbreds.
She certainly is, and Rachel and I are probably linked in another way. I'm now calling greyhound meetings here in Australia regularly for RSN, the Melbourne radio station that broadcasts the Melbourne Cup. And Rachel is now a proud greyhound owner here in Australia as well. So, yes, I might catch up with Rachel sooner than later at some of the tracks in New South Wales.
That's super. And I think we can say that the Sheikh Mansour Festival has had a very beneficial influence around the world, particularly obviously in raising the consciousness about Arabian racing, but also offering opportunities to many people, but obviously for the lady riders. The reason why I brought you in today is we're going to talk about our forthcoming Group 3 race that we run at Haydock on Saturday, which is the Sheikha Fatima bint Mubarak Cup. This race has been run in several different guises, but the Sheikh Mansour Festival took up sponsorship 3 years ago. The race has found a new home at Haydock Park. It's run as part of Haydock's celebration weekend, and it really appears to sort of started to find its feet and find its home. At the moment, we've got 12 entries. We're recording this just after the entry stage, so we're not entirely sure who's going to definitely be running, and certainly we've only got a vague idea what jockeys might be booked to ride on Saturday. We do know that the current state of the ground is good, and it's likely to stay good for the weekend. Obviously, in the UK, we're currently experiencing a little bit more Australian style weather. We're having a little bit of a mini heat wave, which I can assure you has been most welcome, because our summer seemed to be over in seconds, or at least that's what it felt like. But there are a few forecast showers, but we are essentially expecting the ground to be good on Saturday. Obviously, all horses should go on good ground. And so we're expecting a good race. Now, Victoria, you've had a chance to look at the card and go through it, like you were saying to me just off camera, how you would run through a greyhound card and pick out some of your favoured horses. I was explaining to you that having spoken to Phil Collington this morning, he's anticipating running only one of the Athbar horses. At the moment, his first choice will be Thadar Athbar, and Phil informs me that she's most likely to be parted by Ty O'Shea, who has obviously forged quite a good relationship with Athbar Racing over the years. So on that note, I'll hand it over to you, Victoria.
Well, they're certainly all three very nice types anyway. So hopefully whichever one is at the track at Haydock on Saturday this forthcoming weekend certainly will give racegoers a great sight.
We can move on to Paramount Angel now. Paramount Angel is trained in Wales by Delith Thomas. And over to you, Victoria.
Paramount Angel last raced on good soft going at Cheapsdale on the 28th of July, over a mile on the grass, and was going very well up until about the 1,000-metre mark, or five furlong mark. I wondered if he felt, to use a greyhound term, a little squeezed up at that point, when he had horses very close by either side of him. And it is at that point he dropped right back off the pace. He was carrying a 10 stone 2, or just not quite 64.5 kilos. He did win on the 30th of June with 9 stone 9 on his back in a small field of 6 at Newbury on a good firm track over a mile.
Yes, I mean, he was definitely a sharper horse last year, and of course this year you can forgive him not doing quite so well on his seasonal reappearance. And of course at 12 now, he's up against the younger horses, and to be able to produce that level of form on the back of just the one run, I think he might struggle, but on his day he has proven to be quite useful. For me, he's placed possibilities, really. I can't take him for the winner. For me, I think, again, the younger horses are going to have the edge there. One of those younger horses is the one we move on to now, Upstart Crow. He didn't show much in his first season in training. He had a year off to strengthen up, and his owner breeders, John and Teresa Elliott, they then sold him to some close friends of theirs, Mrs. Linda Reeves. And he's now trained in Newmarket by James Owen, and Linda's daughter Lissy now looks after him and rides him on a daily basis. It's pretty obvious when we interview them that he's become, quite the family pet. And who wouldn't with 4 wins on the bounce? He's certainly progressed up now to a rating of 82. He's a half brother to a group winner, a horse called Jowdy Cairo, who I was involved with at one point. So for me, it's very interesting to follow this horse. Tell me, Victoria, what did you think of Upstart Crow's 4-win streak this season?
I thought it was fantastic. And, If I look at his run on the 28th of July at Chepstow over the 1600 in the WhatTheStallions.com handicap, he led an 8-horse field towards the near side running rail, controlling the pace too, and able to quicken nicely over the last couple of furlongs. And he really seemed to dig deep when challenged. He won narrowly that event. He last raced with 9 stone 12 or 62.5 kilos. He gets a really nice pull in the weights at Haydock this Saturday to carry 57 kilos. And I think he looks right in this. And he's won on good to soft going and as well as firm tracks as well.
Yeah, he certainly seems to have all the bases covered, and he does look the sort of progressive type of horse that could certainly be there in the, getting right into the mix at the end. James, can you just tell me a little bit about this horse's progression this season?
Oh, he's done really well. He's had 4 runs for us, and he's won all 4, all under Tegan. She had her first winner on him. She's improved with every ride, and she's beaten some good jockeys in the process of winning those 4 races. Obviously, the horse has gone up mightily in the handicap, but he's handled it well. This is a massive step up in grade. Group 3, £20,000 race, but we're not afraid to have a go. And Lissy, who does all the hard work, is looking forward to the day out, and her parents, who have really enjoyed the ride this season with this horse. He's improved every time. He's had a nice break going in. Lissy wouldn't let me run him again, and it's the right thing to do, actually. I was going to run him in the conditions race, but Lissy's a massive part of this horse, and she he's here, he's fed on our food and everything, and me and Lissy talk about the training, but she rides his horse every day. Tegan rides it a few times just to get to know it, but all the work Lissy's done in this horse has made him what he is now, because he wasn't easy.
And you've done well in supporting your amateur riders in the stable with rides when they can do the weight on your horses, and that clearly seems to be an integral part of your training ethos here at Greenridge Stables.
Yeah, no, massively so. They work hard for me, and Rhea and Tegan have done really well this year. They progress with each ride. Tegan, obviously, she's won 4 races on this horse and has done great, and has been placed on some of my others. And Rhea's done equally as well. It was the toss of the coin who was going to ride this horse, so it could have just been Rhea in that same position. It wasn't, right, Tegan, you're riding this horse. It was basically a toss of a coin, and we thought with him, because he is quite tricky, Tegan got on well with him first time, it would have been hard to take her off it and put Rhea on. That's why Tegan stayed on it. They're not equally as they've equally improved as the season's gone on, and they'll continue to ride for me. And I think they're invaluable. £7. They know the horses. They want to do well for me, and it's good fun as well.
So you're getting your first ride in a group race on Saturday. What are your thoughts on that?
It's going to be an experience, isn't it? I'm looking forward to it. I know Upstock Pro relatively well at this point, and I'm sure he'll look after me like he has the rest of the runs this season. And
obviously it's a new racecourse for you as well. You're going to Haydock. Any thoughts on that?
I've ridden there on a thoroughbred before, over a mile, so yeah, should be interesting.
Well, yeah, that's good then, because you'll at least have some prior experience of what you've got coming up. We go on now to Abia Athbar. Abia Athbar has, in her last 3 attempts at this race, she finished second last year, having been third the year before. We've always known with her that the key to her is really quick ground. Any further drying, and if our heat wave here increases, that's only going to play to her strengths. She's a lovely, honest mare, always gives her best. Not sure as yet who's likely to be riding her, but she's certainly a horse I always look forward to watching race. What did you make of her?
Well, look, I thought in her last one she boldly took the lead, and in her most recent race on the 15th of August, that was on the poly track at Lingfield. After running, she ran without any cover for most of that race, and when she did take the lead, it was in the last 2 furlongs, only to be run down by Akil Athbar. So she drops in the weights from 61.5 kilos at her last run to 55 kilos in the Sheikh of Fatima this Saturday, and I think she's certainly in the mix.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, we run Abir Athbar on Saturday in the Sheikh of Fatima Bint Mubarak Cup at Haydock. This will be the third time she's running that particular race in consecutive years. She was third 2 years ago, second last year. So we're hoping that she can go one better this year. It looks like we're going to get the ground that she likes. Looks like it'll be fast ground. She's in great order. She's so consistent. I mean, she's come close to winning a group race. She's been placed a few times, but she so deserves to get her head in front. So, as I say, she seems in good order. So, fingers crossed. We've got Mohammed Tabti riding her. He's a great young jockey. He's been riding for me this season. Really impressed with him. He rode a beer last time at Lingfield, and I thought he rode her really well. So, yeah, it's positives all round, I think. So fingers crossed, and hopefully it's a good race and they'll come back safe and sound.
We move now to Lujane. Lujane was she was a really interesting, progressive young horse last year. She ran well on her first reappearance at Doncaster, finishing fourth in a conditions race, which obviously had a Beer Athbar in, among others, and won by Thakira. But I just feel her last two runs, she's run like something's not quite been right with her, and I'm really looking forward to, certainly in her last race at Chepstow. You could forgive her not running so well behind a clear at Chester in the Group 2 EFAR Cup. But I just felt that something just didn't look quite right when she ran at Chepstow, and I'd be really hopeful that she might take another step forward in this race. What did you think?
Well, I wondered if that was actually the ground that day that wasn't to her liking. That was on the 28th of July, over the 1600, and I really thought she didn't look comfortable in the going. She was looking for cover early, which she eventually got, but she was certainly no match for Upstart Crow, the eventual winner. But I just wondered if the going wasn't to her liking.
Yeah, no, it could be, and certainly with good ground on Saturday, that would certainly be more in her favour.
Lujane, yeah, that was a fantastic run first day at Doncaster this year. So if she could reproduce that form, that would be more than good enough, I think, to see her place well. We really hope that she can put the last run behind her. We're not quite sure why she ran sort of quite disappointingly. You know, we were disappointed with her. The ground wasn't, I'd say, in her favour. She does favour quick ground, so she'll have that this Saturday. She seems in great form. The distance she's won at, so we're hoping for a big run from her as well.
Then we move now to Mayfair. Mayfair's making a quick reappearance, having won at Brighton on Sunday.
Okay, well, I thought Mayfair was impressive at Brighton. She covered more ground than the remainder of the small field that she raced in on the turf, on a good to soft track over 5 furlongs, carrying 9 stone 2. Drops in weight to 8 stone 10 in the Sheikh of Fatima. Mayfair was narrowly beaten by Upstart Crow on the 9th of June in the WathBastallions.com handicap on the turf on firm, going over a mile as well. But I thought her run at Brighton was impressive.
Yeah, no, she's certainly taken a step forward. You also, you've got another run in a race, Mayfair. She making a quick reappearance from her run at Brighton on Sunday.
Yeah, look, listen, Mayfair, again, she's going to be massively outclassed. Nice to get a win under her first ever win, our first ever win, homebred winner last week, and good for Rhea. She's massively outclassed in this race, but if she can nick 4th or 5th, a bit of prize money, she accompanies Upstart Crow, who's a better horse, and on profiles this year he's going to beat her. But you know, she'll be trying her hardest. It'd be a fairy tale if she picks a bit of black type hurt.
The most likely of the Athbar runners, which is Theda Athbar. She's a lovely big scopy filly who I've followed with interest right from when she came over as a 2-year-old, as just a great big frame of a thing. When I saw her, she'd arrived at Phil's and she'd only been in the UK about a week, and I just thought she was a stunning looking horse then, and she's really grown and filled out her frame, and hopefully this will be an opportunity for her to fulfill her potential and to step up and gain her first group and black type win.
And certainly the win on the firm surface at Windsor, carrying 9 stone 12 and winning by 9.5 lengths, running away from them. She certainly looks like she's got plenty in the tank, doesn't she?
Yeah, no, she's a really, really attractive looking horse, and certainly on that day at Windsor, she was a real standout in the paddock. And I really do hope that she will show up on Saturday. I know she's had a few sort of developmental growth problems, which is what's held her back. And as one would expect with a 4-year-old who is, as I say, she's a big filly and she's very scopy.
Thedar, as we know, she's 3 from 3, unbeaten in Belgium twice. She's won, and then here at Windsor. Now she's stepping up in grade. I think that it'll be very interesting to see if she can compete with some of the horses that have obviously already got group level form, such as ARH Bar, and let's see if she's progressing as much as she seems to have. Though Ty's familiar with Thedar, like I say, he's won on her at Windsor, and she's pretty straightforward, Thedar, as well.
Of course, with Thedar, you've already won this race. Well, you've actually won all the runnings of this race, but you won with Thedar's half-sister Shamu's Athbar back in 2018.
That's right, yes, when it was at Windsor. So, Thedar's not quite like Shamus at all in any way, in looks or in the way she performs. So she is a half-sister, and hopefully she can be just as good as Shamus. Certainly
a race that I'm very much looking forward to, and of course, as we've said, Phil has dominated this race right from the start. So it's I don't know necessarily that it's a race that he's targeted. I think it's just the way that it's fallen, and of course he's always run and won with mares in the race, right from the very beginning when it was run at Newbury under the name of the Arrow Cup. And he won with Agsan for His Highness Sheikh Hamdan.
Wow. Well, it'll be a very competitive event too, I imagine, as well. And a big thank you to your sponsors, Sheikh Fatim Event Mubarak, of course, and just the extension of opportunity that they've afforded to so many of us right around the world. And on behalf of everyone here in Australia, there's so many of us that have been directly benefited from the Arabian race series that they've staged in so many countries. I've been involved in, and so many other people. A massive thank you to everyone in the United Arab Emirates, and it's great to see their presence in racing in the UK.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. Well, can't tell you how grateful I am for you to join us on this, and it's been really, really lovely to catch up and run through these horses with you. And I hope that, on occasion we might catch up again as part of the Sheikh Mansour Festival. Thank you.
Yes, certainly look forward to it. Debbie, thank you.
Thank you very much.